so I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada with the third fittest woman on earth, Kari Pearce, in her home, in her garage, where she's been spending some time training leading up to the CrossFit Games since, I think you've been here since July, right?
Yep, that's correct.
All right, so it is Friday. You just finished competing at the Games less than a week ago. How's your body feeling? How's the recovery been in the last several days? Where are you sore, where you're not sore? And kind of what's the process that you're taking as, the season's now unwinding?
Yeah, so as you said, it's Friday. I think like on Monday and Tuesday, I pretty much laid in my bed all day long. Well, we traveled back on Monday, but after I got back, I was like, I just feel like I got hit by a bus. And so my friends were like, well, yeah, because you basically did the bus of the CrossFit Games. And then Tuesday, I was like, okay, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I did not get anything done because same thing, I was just so tired that I was just laying in bed. Wednesday, I felt a little better. I mean, my quads were super, super sore, so the soreness started to ease a little bit. My lats were really sore. And on Monday, my biceps were not, but then Tuesday, I went to like straighten my arm and I was like, oh, right there.
Got that Murph arm?
Nice, got that Murph arm.
Nice.
I think we did 300 pull-ups will give you that Murph arm, right? And so I've been taking a lot of Epsom salt baths. I've been in compression boots a lot. I've just been trying to sleep a lot. I've been eating way too many cookies and things like that. A lot of people sent cookies and I was like, I can't just let them sit there. And they're all different kinds. It's not like one kind, so I know how it tastes. But it was like so many different kinds. So, you have to eat them because people sent them. And so, that's basically been my recovery and what I've been doing since the Games. So nothing very exciting.
Yeah. Well, so that's post Games. For all of us mere mortals, maybe a couple of us have done a competition, or maybe even done the open, done a couple of workouts over the weekend, or multiple workouts in a day. So we know a little bit how it feels to kind of take your body to test and do a lot more than what you're used to. The Games has always been a unique environment where it's hard to train for because of how unknowable Dave's programming can typically be. While you're in the midst of it, though, were you getting sore, or just it was a little nicks and knacks, and then all of a sudden on Monday you're like, boom, now we're sore? What is that like for an athlete, physically?
Yeah, this year was definitely just like a little nicks and knacks. Like there were things that were kind of sore, but nothing was like over the top sore, which is actually really nice. And I think just like,
I imagine. Yeah,
just like it says his programming, like it was good. Like my quads weren't so sore that I couldn't run, or like they felt like they had been worked. And same with like my glutes and my hamstrings, and even like shoulders and triceps. They're all like, oh, okay, I'm doing a lot of fitness right now. And then Monday I woke up and like I said, I was just like so fatigued, and my quads and lats were super, super sore.
So sort of the delayed DOMS effect. It's kind of like as soon as your body was in high alert, and then Monday you wake up and it's like shattered.
Yes, I think everything just kind of like hit, like slapped you in the face.
All right, fair enough. Well, it's good to hear, as an individual who's doing CrossFit for 10 years, I'm so glad to find out that you do actually get sore after the CrossFit Games, because it doesn't appear that way when we're watching on television, still seeing what you're doing, and you're thinking, wow, this is absurd. There's no way she can't be feeling any pain, but thank God, it turns out you do get sore. So that's good to hear, as us mere mortals have come to find out. All right, I want to pivot a little bit to something that you've been working on for a long time. You've had this podium goal. You've been the fittest American woman for 4 out of the 6 CrossFit Games that you've competed, a title that's been well earned and hard fought. Now you're the third fittest woman on earth. What is that immediate feeling for you come Sunday afternoon? You cross the line, you find out you're third. How are you feeling?
I get goosebumps. Look at that. I got goosebumps. I get goosebumps now, especially just thinking about it. Like you said, it's been 6 years that I've been training CrossFit, and 4-time fittest American female. And this time just means so much more because it is a podium finish. Last year, I was going for the podium as well, but things happen, and this year it actually did. And once I crossed the finish line, I still knew that there had to be at least one athlete between me and Haley, because she was right there. And even after like Katrin finished after me, and then Tia, and then Haley was next, and I still honestly, I wasn't sure. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I just have to give this workout my best and hope everything falls in line. You got to do what you're in control of. Right. And then I know when after Tia crossed the finish line, and then Haley, I went up to my coach and I was like, does this mean I'm on the podium? And he's like, he just smiled and he nods, and I just lost it. Like I saw her just like bawling because, like you said, it's a lot of work that goes into it, and it finally like, not that it hasn't paid off, but you know, there's this like big goal of being on the podium just because it is so special, and being able to say like now I'm the third fittest on earth is just incredible. And like, I don't know, before I started CrossFit, if you ever said I would be that successful in the sport, I definitely wouldn't have believed you, but it just shows what hard work can go and do.
Yeah, well, not to steal one from Matt Frazier, but hard work does pay off, and you've been at work for a very long time, and you've earned this title, and you know, this has been a long time coming for you. So, number one, congratulations.
Thank you.
Number two, it's been inspiring to watch as somebody who's been covering the sport since right around the time when you started doing CrossFit. It was just a year later, started Morning Chalk Up, and so it's been cool to watch the trajectory of an athlete who, you know, sometimes you flew under the radar. You know, you were an athlete who was very powerful in certain elements, but you'd always finish towards the top, and sometimes. You know, even as somebody who's supposed to be paying attention to everybody, you know, sometimes you just don't. And you've been certainly on the radar screen for the last couple of years because you've been killing it. So
thank you.
I'm sure that feeling is absolutely amazing. And so you're no stranger to high-level success. I mean, you were a gymnast for many years with the University of Michigan, right?
Yep.
National champion team. And you parlayed that into your success here in CrossFit. But you're also a successful businesswoman. You know, you've been doing a lot of new things with your Power Abs program, and you know, you've built a brand around yourself. I'm kind of curious, how do you balance that as, you know, Monday morning, you know, you have business things to do. Tuesday, you have business things to do. You have people that work for you that report to you. How do you balance that in being a high-level competitive athlete that requires so much time, focus, and energy?
Yeah, so luckily I have an amazing team that I work with for Power Abs. They're actually based out of New York City, and that's kind of where they found me back in 2018. So we started Power Abs in December 2018, and it's just been incredible seeing how it's grown over the past, especially since March, so the past like 6 months or so. And it's just like, it's become a global brand now, and it's amazing. But I love it because like I'm such an intense person, like when I'm in the gym and focused on CrossFit, that like when I get home, it's kind of nice not to think about like me as a person, but to think about other people and helping other people, and just seeing their success like motivates me to want to do more for the brand and for Power Abs. So it's a nice balance. I think like the beginning part of the day is CrossFit and it's training and me. And then when I come home, I try to switch gears. Usually when I'm doing some of my recovery stuff, sitting in my boots and stuff, I'll do programming or other things for Power Abs.
Okay. Very cool. So I'm assuming you were not working during the weekend. You had a team in place in New York City that are taking care of you, making sure everything gets done.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit more about the games, though. This was a unique environment. You've been to a lot of games. You competed in Carson, you competed in Madison, you've competed with changes, you competed with cuts, you've competed with big fields, now you've competed with an extremely small field, right? You've seen the gamut. You know, you and a few other elder statesmen that were competing have seen this just wide variety of CrossFit Games experiences, but the CrossFit Games is always meant to not be predictable or repeatable necessarily. It is meant to be a test of the fittest athletes on earth, and it is unknown and unknowable, as the Games programming team likes to say. What's your assessment of just this micro field, this 5 athletes, super intimate, everybody on the same bus, everybody kind of there at the finish line? It's a little less formal the way the heat after heat after heat, and shuffling you in and corralling you and then moving you out and then corralling you and moving you out again. You don't have as much of that environment. What was your sort of assessment of just the format, just being an intimate format? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Would you like to see it again? What are your summer thoughts?
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting experience, but I really enjoyed it, especially because you actually got to hang out with the other athletes and bond a little bit with them. Like you said, the bus rides to and from the ranch, I feel like Friday was a little quieter, like it was a little, I feel like everyone was just kind of on edge.
Nervous energy.
And then Saturday and Sunday was a lot better, like we actually like talked and connected, and it was just a different experience, like you said, than anything else. And it was really nice, like in the warm-ups too, because you warm up and then 5 minutes before you're supposed to go, you're corralled. Whereas usually it's 20 minutes before you go. So you're like, okay, I just warmed up, and then now I'm going out to do a snatch ladder and I haven't touched the barbell in 20 minutes. So there's definitely some pros that went along with the format. It was very interesting too, though, that they just like after each event, depending on how you finish in that event, like you could have been in 5th and then you moved up to 3rd, or you could have been in 2nd and you moved down to 5th. So it was just like each event, you had to focus on the task at hand. You couldn't, not that you can ever, but you couldn't think about what just happened, because what happens in the next event could completely change things around again. So I feel like things were just switching a lot more than normal because there weren't the extra athletes to fill in the gap. So like if there was a minute between you and me, sometimes there would be 6 or 7 athletes between us, where in this competition, it was just us.
Yeah. Well, that touches on another point, something that we asked a couple of times during the press conferences or sent text messages back and forth. And maybe it's a little easier to process the question now, which is just about the gamesmanship of CrossFit now. Because, one of those places is worth 20 points, or if you're first to second, it's worth 25 points. You're talking, is it... A lot of athletes, when you look at the previous games, they don't go for broke. They don't sell out on a workout. They're not super concerned with the 6 or 5 points that they gain from being, you're like, I could have caught him, but I was like, I'm saving it for the next one. That is a little different now, because saving it for the next one might not be a great idea. When you're talking about the difference between just seconds and 20 points, now it's a real gambit you've got to make here. Did that factor into how you approach some of these workouts, and were you a little more conscious of putting the pedal to the metal when you thought you could catch it?
Yeah, it definitely played a role. Like one of the examples that comes to mind immediately is the CrossFit Total. So me and my coach knew that Tia and Brooke would be battling for the top, and then I would be somewhere in the middle, and then Katrin and Haley would be battling for the bottom. So even like the lifts that I hit weren't maxes, whereas a couple years ago I had to hit maxes because every pound mattered, because every point mattered. So here I was like, I'll just sit happily in the middle. I ended up lifting more than I should have, or like my coach said.
You're feeling it?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, we can go to like 90%.
What if somebody else is feeling it?
Yeah, you never know. And so it was nice for that event too, just having my coach right there. Side note.
Yeah.
But an event like the trail run, I was like running, and then he said we had to turn around whenever we started going, and Tia was like far enough ahead of me, and Brooke was far enough behind me that I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to go balls to the, it still was really hard and it hurt, but I'm like, I'm not going to go balls to the wall if I don't have to, because I'm not going to get any more points for finishing a minute faster. Like, it's not worth it. And then in like the bike ride event, like I had to push it in the beginning and then see where I could hold off. But it was kind of push as much as you can to be either beating somebody or close to them. And then once you realize, okay, they're so far ahead, then you're like, I'll ease up a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like you said, try and like push at the end to make sure that you do get those 20 points. Because at the end of the day, every point mattered.
So you competed last year when there was only 10. You survived the cuts, you made it in, and then you're competing for the final 2 days of competition with the 10 athletes, and you did 3 days of competition here with the 5 athletes. If you were programming the CrossFit Games and you were thinking about, what's your preferred style? Like, how do you like it playing out? Where do you fall on that spectrum? Do you like the big field with a lot of separation and sort of 40 athletes, or do you prefer more of a 10 or a 5? If you had to program the next year's CrossFit Games, what would you pick?
It's really hard to say. I like 10 athletes better than 5, because I think like I said, 5 was really cool and it was really nice, like getting closer to the girls. But at the same time, I don't think like this year from going to 30 to 5, who necessarily knows if those were your fittest 5?
Well, it was pretty tight. It was like 4 or 5 points sometimes, just separating. You go to like 4th to like 8th, and it's like, whoa, we could swap and fit. But that's been the case for a lot of years. You look back at regionals and you go, well, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and regionals sometimes is like razor thin margins.
Yeah.
It's tough and it's brutal, but it's CrossFit.
Yeah. And so I did.
Dave has no sympathy for 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, he doesn't. He's like, just go faster.
He's like, you should have worked harder.
I don't care. Yeah. You should have been a second faster, especially in that row. That's what everyone was like.
Right.
The row, the 0.2 seconds. Like
that's the big one. That was crazy. Sorry, but go back to your point. You like the 10 more.
Yeah, I like the 10 more than the 5. And I hate saying it, but I do like the 10, I think, the most. Like the 30, 40 athletes is nice to have, but having all of the heats, I feel like sometimes can be overwhelming. So I think my sweet spot would actually be like 20, because then there could be like 2 heats of 10. And then I feel like the top 20 athletes, like give or take on any day, could be in that top 10. Yeah. Whereas I feel like if you get like 30 and 40, it's a bit much.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right, well, I got 2 more questions for you. Number 1, you're at the CrossFit Games, and you're doing an absurd amount of calories a day. What are you eating during the weekend? What was your diet like?
I'm eating a lot of Lucky Charms. So
Lucky Charms it is.
Lucky Charms for the win. Well, because like you said, you're eating or you're burning so much. So I work with RP Strength. They do my nutrition throughout the year and especially during competitions. So like the week leading up to it was a lot of carbs. That's mainly like oatmeal, sweet potatoes, fruit, like the healthy carbs.
Yeah.
And then during the competition, like you need fuel. And so it's like whatever you can get quick. So I have sugars and whey protein in a drink.
All right.
And then between events, and I start out the morning with oatmeal, so I have my healthy carbs there.
Yeah.
But no vegetables like throughout the entire weekend because they're like, you don't need fiber, you don't need to slow anything down.
Yeah.
All the calories that you get, you need for them to count.
Yeah.
So between the workouts is mainly Lucky Charms. If we have a little bit longer between workouts, I might have rice. A lot of people love rice. I'm not a big rice person, but I'm like, I need to stomach something.
Lucky Charms is your rice substitute.
Exactly. During
totally
competitions, valid. I had a large size box.
Did you go to Costco? Did you get like the big bag? You know, it's like,
big bag.
It's like 5 gallons.
And they're like, what are you doing with this? I have a lot of fitness.
CrossFit.
I have a 6-mile trail run. Yeah, CrossFit.
CrossFit. Yeah, exactly.
I'll say it just like that next time too.
No, you have to. Otherwise, it doesn't count.
No. If I say CrossFit, CrossFit.
CrossFit. Exactly. All right, so you had a lot of Lucky Charms. What about protein? Like, what kind of sources of protein are you getting?
Yeah, I had some lean, some chicken breast.
Yeah.
That was usually that on the side, and then I would have
Pretty
my Lucky
safe
Charms.
bet.
Yeah, and like Rosie Joe actually cooked all of the meals for us throughout the weekend, which was really, really nice. Yeah, for like me, my coaches, the staff, everything. So it was nice having that like already prepared for us when we were going to the competition.
All right, sweet. Okay, so that's what it takes to fuel the fittest on earth is Lucky Charms and chicken breast. If you guys are thinking about getting into competitive CrossFit, that's the one takeaway that you need to take from this interview.
And not together, not like chopped up the chicken breast and put it in Lucky Charms. You eat them separate.
True story, actually. You know, I had a bodybuilder friend who used to make chicken shakes. You know, because he got so to the point where he was just so tired of eating, he would just blend up the cooked chicken with a little bit of water and salt. And I was like, "That's dedication, bro." I was like, I think you can get over the eating to not have a chicken shake. But you know, so if you're thinking about it, consider chicken shakes for the next CrossFit Games.
Okay, got it. Noted.
Pro tip from over here. All right, last and final question, which is your third fittest woman on earth. You've been on a tear competitively over the last 6 years. What's your goal for next year?
My goal for next year is to be on that podium again. Now I know how good it feels, and even just like talking about it now, I get goosebumps. So yeah, I just want to continue to get fitter, continue to get stronger, continue to get better, and be the best CrossFit athlete that I have been yet. So that's my goal. Well,
we will be there on the sidelines cheering you on and looking forward to covering all the action. So thanks so much for joining me, allowing me here in your home in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we'll see you out there soon.
Of course, and thank you, Justin.
You're welcome.